And hello, everyone. It is Thursday, April 14th. I am cold. Jaden is warm. It's another real estate update, no matter where in the world you are. I mean, this one is particular to Calgary and the surrounding areas. But Jaden, welcome back. Well, not welcome back. You're still not here, but welcome back to the show.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, I'd like next week if we could do an update on the area around the beach town I'm in. That'd be fantastic.
Yeah, exactly. I'll get right on that. Well,
Thanks.
we have so much to talk about today. We will be talking about the big interest rate hike. We're going to be talking about the Liberal budget that came out with new things for home buyers in Canada. So before we do that, we are going to roll through our weekly stats and kind of tell you what that means to you if you're both on the buying and selling side. So we had 489 new listings this week on the detached side of things, basically flat to last week. 461 sold, slightly up. Pendings up significantly from the week before. So that's always an indicator of what's going on in the market more recently, because solds can be upwards of 2 weeks behind in terms of when they got that conditional offer with a 2-week condition period. Sold plus pending of 873, a net difference of plus 384. So slightly up from last week. Our price reduced, though, I found this really interesting. This is our first price reductions above 200, I think, in 2022. This is, not surprising because we've been seeing those numbers rise. So again, this is the same old story for sellers. You can reach a ceiling at which there is not interest in your property, right? So it's always about finding that sweet spot between market value and maybe a little higher, depending on what your strategy is with your realtor. I have a particular strategy I would be happy to discuss with you when we're not live on Facebook. Total detached listings of 1831 versus 1767 last week. So we're seeing that creep still, up from like 1,500, upwards of 5 weeks ago, and we're up to 3,655 total listings. Again, continuing that creep up from around 3,000 about 5 weeks ago. This is super interesting. So we've been following this last week, this year. See, I can never say it right. This week, last year. I should just read the title on my slide there. This week, last year. So our numbers have been along this right-hand column here have really been, upwards of 20% difference year over year. We're starting to see that shrink for sure. So total sales is only 11% different from last year. Now that is, 64 sales, or actually 84 sales difference. So it's significant. New listings, though, only 7% up this year from last year. Our active listings, this is my big number here. So we're now below 20% difference year over year, which I find very fascinating. Are we seeing a shrinking of the difference between this year and last year? A little bit, who knows? Our median price, again, those are significantly down from the same week last year. Our days on market have been around that 20 to 22 for the last couple of months here. So that is not much of a surprise at all. And over to Jaden for, let's talk, you can talk interest rates, and then maybe we can segue into the interest rate bump.
For sure. And so, we're still up on the high threes, starting to peak into the low fours on our rates here. One of the things that I want to mention, if you look at that variable high ratio and the variable conventional, they're all at 1.7%. And that seems like a fantastic rate. That is just a function of that particular lender not having raised its prime just yet, right? So that actually, the discount is only 1%. That will be 2.2% within the next 3 days. And that's, let's get right into that. So, the sky is falling. We went up by a half point on prime. The Bank of Canada is doing things to try and control inflation. But really what's happened is we are still 3/4 of a point lower than prime was pre-pandemic, right? Mm-hmm. So we're kind of starting to move back up towards that direction. I think, with those people who are thinking about locking into a fixed right now, you're still at 2.2%, and your lock-in rate is maybe at 3.6, 3.8. It's maybe not the best thing to be kind of decision to be making at this time. So, we're going to see rates keep going up this year. if we listen to what the Bank of Canada has to say, they expect inflation to go down in 2023 and then be back on par with where they want to be by 2024. So we'll likely see interest rates kind of follow that, slowly come down maybe in 2023, maybe slightly down, but more to a medium term rather than that low rate that it was before.
Right. Okay. So, and the reality is, and we don't have an example here, but the reality is that 50 basis point jump this week, 2 days ago, was it yesterday? I can't remember what day it was.
Yesterday.
But, if you have a variable rate mortgage, maybe can you give us a quick example of, let's say you have a $400,000 mortgage, what would your payment difference be?
Yeah. So generally speaking, generally speaking, for that 50 rate, it'd be about $25 a month per 100,000. So you're looking at about an extra $100 a month on that $400,000 mortgage.
Right.
Significant, absolutely significant. But we go in with most of my clients with a plan to be paying more than the absolute minimum anyway, right? So when you go into that variable rate, you're paying it as if you were paying the fixed rate. So you're not feeling that. You're just paying slightly less against the principal.
Right. Okay. Sounds good. So let's move on forward to what the Liberals released in their. So here's a story. Let me scroll to the top here. So the Liberals released, and this is on another real estate website. So Canada to ban blind bidding. Wow. As part of Home Buyers Bill of Rights. So the Liberals have introduced this Home Buyers Bill of Rights. They've banned foreign purchases in Canada, I believe, for 2 years. But the biggest news, I feel, from my perspective, is this whole concept of blind bidding. So right now, what happens is, and I just went through this last week with another set of clients, and I've been talking about this for ad nauseum. So you go in, you go, okay, well, guys, what are you comfortable paying for the house? It's going to be over asking, because I know based on the stats, they're going for 7% above asking, as an example, right? So they go, well, we love this house, so we're going to go like to 8% over. I'm like, okay, great. And which conditions do you want in? Well, we're comfortable looking at the house. So we're not going to put in a home inspection, and just so you know, that's never my recommendation. That has to be their own desire to not have a home inspection. But we want the financing condition. And I talked to Jaden. Jaden says, yeah, we can get it done in a week. So that is what we do. Now, I've been very fortunate. I've been able to win a lot of offers for my clients in this market. So the example would be, in that particular case, they'd say, well, we think we're going to come in at, let's say, 600,000 on a 550 listing. Very common these days. But what will happen now, and there's some talk already that actually you're going to be able to see the bids on realtor.ca for that property. It's going to be like an auction, similar to how they do it in Australia. So the challenge is, somebody that has a little bit more money maybe than my clients does says, well, I'll go to 605. Okay. So my clients, even though, like, I think there's pluses and minuses to both systems. Are there some people that are paying too much now because of blind bidding? Sure, absolutely. But what's too much, right? Relative to Toronto, we're not getting $200,000 and $300,000 above asking. I mean, the highest I've seen is about 100K, maybe 120, and that's because the house was underlisted. So I respect what the government's trying to do in trying to create a level playing field. I would have to see this in practice to see if it's actually going to be beneficial for my clients. What they're saying is, hey, you're going to be able to see all the bids, but some people just might get outbid, and maybe they won't even be able to submit a letter that, hey, this is why we want to buy this house, and all that's going to be lost in the shuffle. So we will see. There's more incentives from, and Jaden, feel free to chime in here on this one. I believe there's going to be more incentives for first-time home buyers to take money out of investments and things like that, tax-free. There's always, there's pluses and negatives to all that stuff, right?
Yeah, and like what I'm finding with the majority of my clients, I think it's actually a great thing. So you get that the ability to set aside $40,000 tax free. That's great. The problem is that my clients are having trouble getting the down payment together in general, right? Because you're renting a place and you have kids and you got car payments and this and that and the other, and so As prices go up, the minimum down payment goes up as well, right? So, I think it's all going to be helpful. But I think you're right. Like, we have to see how this plays out. The first time home buyers incentive that was supposed to be a huge boon to first time buyers was hugely underused. Less than a third of its capacity. So, there's it's just hard to say how this will play out in real time. We'll just have to see what the future brings.
Yeah, exactly. So lots of big news. I will say this anecdotally, what's happening in the market. I just listed a semi-detached up in Taradale last night, and I've had not had time to market yet, but we're conditionally sold already. Less than a day on the market for over asking. And if you know me, I don't list prices. I don't undervalue properties. I list them right at market value and see where the market takes us. So my clients are super pumped for that. And so there's a window here, right? Before interest rates really, I think start to not damage, but put a damper on the buying. I think there's still a window of opportunity here as a seller. So certainly a great time to still be chatting about that. But reach out to either of us. Don't just wait for things to happen to you. Reach out to Jaden, reach out to myself. We'd love to be of assistance to you. Jaden, that is about it for this week. You have a great Easter weekend. Happy Easter, everybody. Don't get sunburned down there.
I won't, and happy Easter. Hope everybody enjoys it and is able to stay nice and cool.
Yeah, enjoy your time with family. We will talk to you all in 7